Welcome back. In this lesson, we're going to cover one of the suppliers for sentiment trading. So let me just bring you through to the Quantopian website. Under the Quantopian website, if you come to the data and you select data, they have these institutional quality data feeds directly port into Quantopian. Now, within this database, there are a lot of suppliers, varies from sentiment to machine learning, and on it goes. So today, in this lesson, what I am going to go through and cover is this supplier or vendor called Psychsignal. So you can actually look them up. We're going to go and cover Psychsignal. Right. As I click Psychsignal, you can see that there are 4 different Psychsignal comes up. The first one is Twitter Trader Mood, order views with retweet. The second one is Twitter and Stock Tweet Trader Mood. The third one is just Twitter Trader Mood with no tweets, no retweets at all. And the last one is just Stock Tweets Trader Mood. So in essence, what you are looking at is that there are basically two main data sources. One is stock tweets, the other one is Twitter. And the variant of that is one is with retweet, the other one is without retweet at all. So in this lesson, I am going to go in and cover this featured stock tweets trader mode. So what you can do is just select that, and they do provide example algorithm. I'll leave that with you to cover that, to go through that. I'm going to cover a different algorithm with you. But first of all, we're going to explore the data sets just to understand how it works before we actually start go in and to develop the backtesting and also algorithm. So this stock tweets trader mood covers the mood of traders posted on the stock tweets. For those of you who are not familiar with stock tweets, it works a little bit like Twitter. So let me just bring that up. And stock tweets works a little bit like Twitter's, except that it is for traders or stock market investors. And you can see that the actual nature of it is a bit different because all the tweets are purely in the area of stocks only. Now, Twitter's obviously cover many different aspects, and people, it covers from politics to sports and all sorts. Whereby in this situation, you are talking about purely just stocks only. So it's a really, really rich source of data, and quite often, as we will show later, that there are actually alpha embedded in these tweets itself. So let's come back here. Within the stock tweets, the access status, this is one of the reasons why I want to actually cover this vendor, is that you have full access to the whole data set. So it is provided completely free. The only, caveat is that you do need to use or make use of the Quantopian platform. But the difference, though, is that even though you code it in the Quantopian platform, you can still turn this algorithm, once you're happy with it, turn it into a live algorithm, because Quantopian can port through to interactive brokers or Robinhood. Either of these brokers will be able to execute your algorithm for you live. I will show you how to do that in future videos. So how do you use this? There are actually two so-called way to import this library. If you are using this pipeline within the actual backtester or IDE itself, this is the line that you use from quantopian.pipeline.data Psychsignal import stock tweets. But if you are in the actual Quantopian research platform, you use this. All right. So from quantopian.interactive.data.psychsignal import stock tweets. The difference is the word pipeline and interactive. Okay, so that's the difference. So just be careful which one you use, in which environment that you're using it, because it does matter. What are the so-called key matrices or data that's provided? You have the bull score messages, which provide the total count of bullish sentiment messages scored by Psychsignal's algorithm. And the second one is the bear scored messages. So it's the total count of bearish sentiment messages scored by Psychsignal algorithm. And third and last one is the total scanned messages, number of messages coming through Psychsignal's feed and attributable to a symbol regardless of whether the Psychsignal sentiment engine can score them for bullish or bearish intensity. Okay, there are various notebooks, algorithms, and posts that use this data. I'm gonna just quickly go to this post, and I'm gonna go and walk through Psychsignal main website with you so that you can actually have a look through it. Now, the price, as I mentioned before, is free. The time span of data goes back to 9th of July 2009 and is ongoing. So that's why it's actually a really ideal vendor source for you to actually play around, to just explore. It is free and it allows you to actually really get a hang of how the actual signal that's coming through from this source of data. So I mentioned before there's some example notebook which is provided here. I won't go through this. I'm gonna close that off and move that elsewhere. I will use a separate notebook I want to walk through with you step by step. Now, about the company itself, Psychsignal. Let me just move that away too. Okay, what do they do? All right, so they basically quantify the mood of traders. Okay, they use their own custom logic to actually score the bullishness or bearishness of each tweets. Okay, so they use natural language processing engine. In essence, really, it's machine learning. Okay, to interpret social media text in the context of stock price. So this is focused on the actual domain of stock trading, rather than trying to actually take in all the source from multiple vendors. So they basically just got it from either stock tweets or tweeters. Some other providers cover newspapers. Some get it from Reuters, some get it from Wall Street journals, or source in multiple sources. So those obviously have different so-called legitimacy or reliability, whereas this is purely stock tweets and also tweeters only. So we can later on compare to other vendors just to actually get a little bit of difference flavor so that you can actually see how they actually play out. Okay, so other things that they do provide, things such as research, they have case studies, they have white papers. It pays to actually go through and study them just to actually get the hang of and understand how the actual sentiment can actually in fact impact signals. So one of the so-called case studies that I won't go through here today, but I'll just highlight it for you. You can actually send an email to Psychsignal and request for the actual paper itself. They'll be very happy to share that with you. Couple of things is that the social media can actually have an impact on intraday volatility because it picks it up. Okay, it picks up if something is happening to a certain stocks or the indices, people will start tweeting. Okay, and the other thing that the sentiment can affect is actually the correlation structure. If you go back to the fundamentals of how correlation is calculated, it's related, closely related to standard deviation. So as volatility goes up, either because of people tweeting or there are some sort of activities going on and the actual sentiment picks it up, it obviously will have an impact on the stock market correlation structure between stocks and between inter stocks. Now, other things is that it also helps you in terms of absolute momentum strategies. This is with respect to the S&P 500. And finally, it goes back to the pairwise correlation structure. At the end of the day, just always remember, go back to the so-called mathematical equation of what correlation is. correlation is really the covariance between two stocks and divided by the standard deviation. So standard deviation is obviously the volatility. As the volatility picks up or go down, it will have an impact on the actual correlation itself. Okay, there are other parts to the website I won't go through now. I'm gonna move on and actually start talking about the actual so-called signal itself. So this is the website. Please do visit it. Go to data and type Psychsignal. It will bring it up for you. Just for this lesson, for this course, I'm only gonna focus on stock tweets rather than looking at all the other so-called different data source that they have. Earlier, remember, we saw that there were actually 4 of them, but in this case, we're just gonna focus on purely one data source.